Greetings and welcome to Return to Origin's second podcast. I am Arnold Michaels from Return to Origin, and we would like to invite you to enjoy the following presentation titled Healing the Broken Links Between People and Nature, Exhibition as Storyteller. This presentation was originally presented by the Return to Origin team at the Amazwi Literature, Heritage and Ecology Conference, hosted by the Amazwi South African Museum of Literature at Makhanda in South Africa's Eastern Cape. The theme of the conference was Making Peace with Nature and coincided with the display of Return to Origin's Sustainable Together project, a co-created exhibition celebrating generations of hidden histories, storytelling, and belonging. The Sustainable Together project consisted of a 3-day workshop hosted by Return to Origin, which brought together an intergenerational group of community members from Ekurhuleni, Kenton-on-Sea, and facilitated a shift towards a longer-term food and care system that values the stories and well-being of those that are a part of it, while acknowledging the natural world that supports them. The 3-day workshop centered on discussions which fell under 4 themes: Endulo, which focused on stories of origin; Yantlhukwano, which is based on stories of separation and loss; Imbewu, which are the seeds we wish to sow; and Kulanam, which means to grow with me. These discussions culminated in an exhibition co-created by the residents of Ekurhuleni and Return to Origin, accompanied by a sound recording that echoed their haunting stories of the past, their hope in the present, and their reimagination of a future in sustainability that included respect, love, well-being, and healing. The following presentation responds to the conference theme of Making Peace with Nature from a perspective rooted in the fertile stories and discussions brought to light during the Sustainable Together workshop and exhibition. Return to Origin's founder, Mbali Mare, will speak of Healing the Broken Links, followed by Angelique Michaels presenting Exhibition as Storyteller, and thereafter Dominique Santos with Nature's Mirror. Finally, Return to Origin's Guardian for Nature, Sipenkosi Zintoyinto, will share some closing remarks. Without further ado, Mbali Mare.
I am Mbali Mare. I am in the vicinity of the Western Cape, in Muizenberg, the Western Cape, and I am on the land of many, many, many ancestral legacies. For fear of missing somebody out, I'm not actually going to speak of their names or name them, but I myself am those that I know are French Huguenots, Dutch, Portuguese, Bushmen, Shangaan, Amahegebi clan, Xhosa Nation, Khoi. When I asked a Bushman a few years ago to tell me about his relationship with nature or to nature, he looked puzzled. I don't understand the question, he said in Afrikaans. I am nature. Black people were only allowed to own 10 cows. That broke my heart. Tata William. Making peace with nature assumes we are at war with her. The genocide of consciousness brought about by colonialism, apartheid, and extractive practices were deliberate acts of violence to land, nature, and ourselves. These acts, severing links and exerting disastrous impacts, reverberate outwardly and within, engendering hopelessness and a spiritual homelessness. In Ekurhuleni, a township in South Africa's Eastern Cape province, the Sustainable Together workshop and exhibition used ritual practice and open dialogue to explore the grief of historical traumas, undermining collective self-worth and local potential. Intergenerational sharing of community knowledge of land and nature was foregrounded, bringing alignment through relationship to nature, ritual, and community. For workshop participants experiencing their memories and stories reflected through ritual and exhibition images and audio, affirm their inherent worth and belonging. Drawing on the performative potential in symbolic reenactments gives tangible expression to the stories that precede and transcend it. An exhibition space that facilitates such dynamic enactment draws people into material practice and through it into an embodied and entangled relationship with themselves, others, and nature. When exhibition becomes a storyteller, a space is created where nature, healing, belonging, and the making of sustainable communities can be witnessed and celebrated as inextricably intertwined. Black people were only allowed 10 cows. That broke my heart. Tata William. We are a culture on fire, at war, now literally with ourselves, each other, and nature. The more obvious causes of the broken links are consumption, greed, disrespect, forced removals, rape of the mother through mining earth and water, wrongdoings to animals, and destruction of our natural resources. The battle scars left are major natural disasters, abuse and misuse of our natural resources, and drought. When this is mirrored back as a parallel process to which we are inextricably linked, we find that in the aftermath of this war, we are left with unspoken hidden histories, separation, self-hatred, a war on women, and a value system where worthiness has no place. Vananda Shiva, an earth activist, says it this way: in nature's economy, the currency is not money, it is life. Our inner nature is a distant memory, and we look outside of ourselves to fill the gaping hole, W-H-O-L-E, that the broken links to the natural world has created. The wound so deep it often feels impossible to remember that we are nature in our original design. We have entered a great forgetting, an amnesia that at times surpasses our capacity to remember that we are not all there is, that we are a part of a greater whole, that we are ancient and also wild. It's a story that includes our earth story of ancestors, long gone, nature as medicine, life giver, dragons, mermaids, the cosmos, and all beings. Our gifts, in short, the magic of the natural world. We live in scarcity, where our self-soothers are to consume, creating more lack, and we have forgotten that abundance is rightly ours. Any engagement in our overconsumption or overproduction is an act of violence. If we are unable to see our reflection in nature's mirror as a place of magic, of love, life, death, rebirth, wildness, transformation, and the deepest truth, how can we be authentic, touch our wildness, our ancient beings, and be comfortable with death, life, and rebirth? In the 3-day workshop created and facilitated by Return to Origin, the team called on the Ecopamilani community to participate. With a deep legacy of sons and daughters of the soil and the origins of those who came before and their connection to the land, the Ecopamilani community gave voice to the hidden histories of the past in order to heal and make sense of the future. Forced removals were dominant in the community we worked with. It shone a flashlight in the darkness of their deep soul searching of what have we done? And right there, xenophobia is born out of a reflection back on themselves as the wrongdoer. Self-hatred is a silent killer of spirit. We heard stories about how the deep self became hungry for soul food that had been violently erased, the home of their origin. We are born into color. The primal colors of their original home, blue, green, and rich brown, had been blotted out of their consciousness, replaced by the gray of corrugated roofs, man-made bricks and mortar, and the gray smoke of toxic waste. We destroyed the grass and the trees and poured concrete where life had once thrived, and we named the streets after the trees that had once brought oxygen and fruit to the community. We brought, as a central piece to the workshop, a simple mound of earth as the center foundation to the work. An organic ritual began. Each person added to the mound of earth a handful of earth brought from their humble dwellings. They soon established an immediate link to earth as elder, nurturer, nourisher, and home. It was the earth where they knelt to pray, light candles, pour water. It was where the grief, the stories, the prayers, joy, and wisdom were held, and where healing happened. Each day, as they remembered more, the stories were released, and we learned that earth still deeply felt was their life giver, their resource, a place of abundance, not scarcity. The community drew from that center. It was their silent witness. Homelessness in all its deep meanings and hopelessness soon became the compost and the place to plant, to sow and grow. It is out of the earth and the water that mountains rise up and nature grows. Disconnection from the soil creates the broken links to nature, the land. They had disconnected from a vital source of finding meaning in their lives. It was their rope to something greater than themselves. The workshop, the earth, and ultimately the exhibition had helped them remember that they belonged. Returning to the earth brought the peace so deeply sought in the healing of this community. Through this simple mound of earth, the images and audio, exhibition as storyteller held the mirror image of their true nature. It reflected back, you are seen, you are heard, and you are worthy. You are enough. And the earth never said you don't belong. People did. That small mound of earth, the elder in the exhibition, brought us all together. And for a small window of time, we all melded a few precious links to nature. Dignity and self-worth were restored. It brought us all home.
Candles flicker and colored wax harden in streaks across dark soil. Earth scattered with seeds and adorned with flowers and fruit tells a story of offering, honoring, and abundance, of relationship to nature. In words encircling this earth mound, the beginning of a community manifesto takes shape at the feet of anyone present to witness it. Forgiveness, dignity, community, respect. A circle with earth at its center, finding expression in various contexts, would serve as a powerful vehicle for transcultural and intergenerational dialogue. The healing power in processes of witnessing and being witnessed that an exhibition makes possible is granted new meaning by the material and symbolic preparations preceding its enactment. Before its opening ceremony, a space conceived of as sacred calls for an attentivity to the elements and materials constituting it. On the day of this exhibition, intentions were set and prayers offered while in pepple burned. Practices like these contribute to the re-signification of space as sacred by giving tangible expression to the traditions and stories that precede and transcend them. This process is expanded when rituals turn witnesses into active participants. Following the drumming and opening song, people attending the exhibition each placed a handful of earth on the mound at its center. Through this practice, at once material and symbolic, those attending reenact the earth ritual originally performed by the community. And through this reenactment, for a moment, everyone present is brought into direct relationship with one another and with those they've come to bear witness to. When tactile, textured displays of content, light, sound, and spatial composition meet with an awareness of the genealogies and histories in material things, and the symbolic and dynamic lives preceding and outliving them. An exhibition is transformed into a political and symbolic site where social change and transformation can be facilitated. Yet, even with an understanding of the power of place and the transformative potential of elements and materials, these to a large extent would remain latent and untapped without the practices and symbolic enactments that imbue matter with life and with meaning. Ritual is the cultivation of this embodied entanglement with nature, elements, materials, people, and places. It is a practiced intimacy with matter as performative and responsive, of spaces informing relations and of the stories articulated through them. Harnessing the performative potential of ritual in exhibition making and the creation of narrative space draws people into relationship with place and the cultural processes and natural elements composing it. This relationality performed through ritual, when not just conceptually understood but practiced, transforms materials into technologies and through it brings processes, publics, and places into being. This celebration of practices previously devalued, the conscious creation of platforms for stories formerly muted in our context, facilitates healing precisely because it speaks back to histories of trauma, to land, and to people. Here, legacies of colonialism and apartheid bleed into relations, spaces, materials, and memories. Here, traumas intersect with narratives of progress and development that, in their veneration of all things deemed modern, have disregarded indigenous knowledge systems, devalued traditions, and severed relations to land, place, and history. In contexts like these, material practices that align nature with ritual and community can serve to re-signify exhibition as storyteller and facilitator of the healing and social transformation that the contemporary moment calls for. For many participants in the Sustainable Together project, what was most affirming was being witnessed in a space traditionally associated with things of value, things worth remembering, preserving, celebrating. Suspended between wooden frames were moments forever etched into memory of rituals enacted, hands clapping, land tilled, people gathered at the Kariga River in garments that celebrate who they are and where they come from. It was seeing themselves reflected back in high definition, photographed and framed. It was the echoes of their words, prayers, songs, and visions, their voices filling a room that communicated a powerful and necessary message. There is worth and wealth here. These stories matter.
Nature's mirror. Seeing the pictures like this, they're waking up a hunger inside. You see, there is something inside, even way inside, down there, that is hungry for ways of the olden days. And seeing these pictures, it makes you remember where you come from. Zanele spoke to the group as we gathered for a roundtable discussion on the final day of the exhibition. It was a reunion for the community members who had participated in the workshops, which had formed the basis for the Sustainable Together project. Sitting in circle, framed by the photographs and held with the earth altar at the center, we sat together once more, surrounded by the exhibition we had made together. We spoke about the impact of that creative time, the power of seeing and hearing the stories that emerged. What kept coming up in this roundtable was how powerful people found it to see themselves reflected back through the high-quality images and emotive sound art, to be witnessed and acknowledged by the wider community who visited the exhibition, representing their stories as important, their knowledge as valuable. The community of Ekuphumleni are, in the story told in the exhibition, acknowledged as valued keepers of knowledge. their integral worthiness and vital place in the social fabric, recorded by the photographer, the sound recordist, workshop facilitators, and the wider community who came to see them, and who came to see them again when the exhibition traveled to Amazwi Museum. The exhibition was the storytelling vehicle, a powerful visual and sonic means to witness and be witnessed, of being integrated into the world with dignity, a story built on work that locates the seeds of sustainability in self-worth and acceptance. But even more so than this, there was an acknowledgement that nature itself was a co-creator of this exhibition, thread through the entire process with ritual invitations. How is this exhibition ultimately a storyteller of the renewal of this sacred bond with nature? It was nature, honored and invited into the embodied creative process, through rituals drawing in the elemental world of earth, seed, rocks, and water, who animated the tangible energetic shifts experienced. As we reflected in circle, a community elder spoke to the manner in which ritual offered a space for nature to enter into creative relationship with us, expressing it as a sense of revival and reverence, an awakening of aliveness and connection to the unseen world that had reverberated through him, through all of us. The sacred bonds with ancestral ways renewed and revitalized for intergenerational transmission, a remembering of the pleasures of living in closer relationship with the elements and community. This joy and sense of completion, of wholeness, reflected back to participants as they saw their true form in nature's mirror, made possible by actively cultivating and inviting in nature as co-creator, as integral to all that we did in our work. The community's welcomed participation in the making of this exhibition opened a door through which the possibilities of healing the broken links with nature could be glimpsed. The promise of that glimpse, of what we might be, what renewing this sacred bond that is in all of our ancestral legacies might mean, is the key to the story being told in the Sustainable Together exhibition.
Exhibition as storyteller is also the vehicle the community used to transmit the stories to the next generation. The stories thus reverberate through the generations. When we return to our original design and ways of knowing, we will begin to make peace with and heal the broken links to nature. Teaching our children to love the earth before trying to save it may be our only hope. Inner and outer nature are inextricably linked.
Hello everyone, my name is Sipinkosi Zinterent and I'm speaking from the beautiful False Bay, Muizenberg, Cape Town. I am 13 years old, a surfer and a freediver. A few weeks ago, I went for my second freedive. Where I was, we saw schools of fish and sea urchins in amongst the kelp forest. The water made me feel extraordinary. I was speechless at how beautiful the ocean was. It was like being in another world, and it blew my mind. We spent 3 hours being one with the ocean. At the end of the dive, I thought, what if we lived in a world with no pollution? How nice would it be if the water was not polluted, and when you put your head underwater, you can hear all the animals communicating with each other. This world would be harmonious between humans and animals. We would empower each other to preserve our amazing home, planet Earth. and the future generations to come. I know if you are a parent or grandparent, you would not like to tell your grandchild or children that you did not do anything to help our planet. As children, you are the people we look up to. Show us the way. Be our GPS when we get lost in our lives. Take us halfway on the bridge and the other half will walk alone. Knowing we work together makes us better people and a better society. Together we can accomplish a mission that seems, looks, or sounds impossible. If adults taught us to love the earth rather than save it, our generation may stand a better chance of survival. Thank you.
That was Sipinkosi Zinto, Return to Origin's Guardian for Nature and Ambassador. Thank you, Sipinkosi, for the inspirational message to carry forward to the next generation.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure. Thank you.